I'd like to welcome everybody to this year's Love Your Lagoon event. It's been a long time since we've actually had a chance to get together, so we're doing this virtually this time, and hopefully next year we will be together again. We've got an exciting program with the Graduate Research Fellows and the symposium coming up. We are very glad to be able to sponsor that again this year. As you all know, we've raised significant money at this event in the past, and the foundation continues to do its work in a virtual environment or in a real live environment. So we continue to function as always. And again, I want to thank you all for coming, the sponsors, our board members, and all of you that made this event possible. And I specifically want to thank the Harbor Branch Foundation staff. You've just done a wonderful job, and I hope everybody's having a good time at this evening. So thank you very much.
The health of our oceans impacts so much of our lives, from the food we eat, to the medicines we depend on, to the beaches we love. Which is why we're excited to highlight 4 top solution-centered areas of research. Marine ecosystem conservation. Understanding fragile ecosystems along the coast and in the ocean remains a lead research priority. Research studies help policymakers create conservation strategies that benefit plants, animals, and humans alike. Aquaculture innovation and food security. More than 50% of the seafood we eat comes from aquaculture, but less than 1% is produced in the United States. Aquaculture research will increase our supply of nutritious, safe, and high-quality domestic seafood. Ocean health, human health. Research helps to identify chemicals and compounds in plants and animals around coral reefs that can be used in therapeutics, and helps to identify how changing environmental conditions affect ecosystems and human health. Technological innovation and national defense. Engineering advanced technology helps us understand our coastal and ocean environments. It also keeps us safe by providing research and development for United States military coastal security projects. None of this is possible without help from our supporters and the hard work of incredible scientists. Thank you.
I have a background in environmental science. I got my undergraduate degree at Texas A&M Corpus Christi, where I studied marine and coastal resource management and fisheries. And then I did a master's degree at the University of Southern Mississippi, where I looked at how the Deepwater Horizon oil spill affected sport fish health and reproductive success. And eventually, I came to Harbor Branch, where I've been studying water quality and harmful algal blooms, working with Dr. Brian LaPointe for the last 3.5 years. And I'm now a part-time geosciences PhD student, and I'm studying the effects of excess nutrients on the ecological health of the Indian River Lagoon. My involvement with the Harbor Branch Foundation has been very helpful in me achieving my academic goals. As a part-time PhD student, there's not a lot of opportunities available for me to receive fellowships, and so I'm very grateful at the opportunity that this fellowship has given me to develop my own research program. I expect that my PhD project will provide information on ecological effects of the addition of excess nutrients to the Indian River Lagoon. We know a lot about the initial effects of this eutrophication of the lagoon, but we don't know a lot about what happens after these initial effects. So what happens to animals that are consuming these primary producers, or other effects moving up the food web. The ultimate goal of my PhD research is to understand how the changes in the different primary producers in the Indian River Lagoon So for example, the loss of seagrass or the increase in different phytoplankton. I want to understand how that affects the organisms that are living in the lagoon. The foundation support has really been critical for me in achieving my research goals and success in my career, because without this fellowship I would not be able to pursue the research questions that I have.
My project here as a master's student is part of a larger collaborative study at Harbor Branch looking at harmful algal blooms in the Indian River Lagoon. And so scientists here are looking at algae in the lagoon, from the algae itself and the phytoplankton to the toxins they produce and how those affect animals and humans. So my part of the project is looking at bull sharks in the Indian River Lagoon, and we're using them as bioindicators to understand presence of habtoxins within the lagoon. In addition, very little is known about how bull sharks use the lagoon, and since this is a bull shark nursery, it's really important to understand that for their management and conservation. The foundation support has been critical in processing all of the tissue samples, and so that was the most difficult part of my project, was finding that funding. And with the foundation support, we were able to process all of the tissue samples that we took. Without the foundation support, we may not have been able to process all of the samples. And I'd just like to say thank you so much, because without this funding, my master's project wouldn't have been possible.
My role right now is primarily as a field researcher and a master's student. I do a lot of work a little bit north of Harbor Branch at my study site that I'm going to keep a little bit under wraps. I was encouraged to apply to the foundation for funding. We received a small amount of funding that year, and that was able to fund some equipment that is going to be helpful for future diamondback terrapin research, as well as gopher tortoise research. And I believe it's also being used by another lab for work on sea turtles. So the funding from the foundation allowed me to devote all of my time over the summer to this research. That actually also helped one of my undergraduates finish her research, and it provided me with equipment, little tracking devices, passive trackers. They're called Vemco V9 acoustic transmitters. I was able to buy 14 more of them with the grant funding. So I was able, over the last season, to deploy about half of these. 2 of them I actually deployed on terrapins I'd been tracking since the previous year, whose trackers had, the batteries in them had died. So I'm gonna have a very long period of time tracking a couple of these animals. And I'm really looking forward, once we get some data from another organization, to see if they've traveled extensively through the lagoon. They're also very important for the regulation of our seagrass. They eat a lot of, as silly as it'll sound, seagrass predators. So various herbivores, mollusks, crabs, that will feed on seagrass. So the terrapins are top-down pressure on those. So healthy seagrass should mean more prey items and should mean more terrapins. They could be used as an indicator species for that. The groundwork that the foundation has helped me to set will go on to allow future students to further expand on this research, and hopefully we'll see significant gains in protections for and conservation of diamondback terrapins. Thank you to everybody at the foundation. I really appreciate your support, and it's really enabled me to focus heavily on my research and accomplish some significant research goals with these animals.
So my role here at Harbor Branch is actually pretty unique and cool, I think. So I am currently in my second year of the Marine Science and Oceanography Master's Program. So with that, I have a thesis looking at sea turtle health, but I've also gotten the opportunity to work with the Ocean Discovery Visitor Center as a graduate assistant, where I helped with their outreach efforts with the local communities. So for one of the semesters I worked with them, I was able to complete their tours that they do to the public, telling about the research that we do here at Harbor Branch, and I was also able to create new content for them. So I got a experience in scientific outreach, but then I also have my roles as a student where I'm taking classes and also doing my thesis work looking at leatherback sea turtles down in Jupiter and Juno Beach, Florida. My involvement with the foundation has allowed me the opportunity to not only focus on my thesis research, but get new experience working in the world of outreach. So with the grant, I worked as a graduate assistant with the Ocean Discovery Visitor Center, where I gave tours to the public about all the research that goes on here at Harbor Branch, and really got to interact with them and get them excited about science and the research that we do. And I also helped create social media content to keep our community engaged and excited about Harbor Branch, even if we aren't able to meet face-to-face and talk about it. And I've also helped make an activity book for children in the community to help them get excited about research at an early age, so we can hopefully have more scientists. Going to my thesis research, I look at the external injuries of nesting leatherback sea turtles. So we know that there's a lot of direct impacts that humans have on these animals, such as interactions with boats and fisheries, either being entangled in fishing line or being hooked by fishing hooks. So we know that that's an issue, but it's not regulated very well yet. So my research aims to categorize and look at all the injuries that these turtles have and better understand the direct impacts that we're having on them, as well as we're also looking at their health through blood samples and different blood parameters to understand the relationship between how these injuries that they have might be impacting their overall health and their future success as a species. Sea turtles are typically known as a sentinel species, meaning that they can tell us if an environment is healthy or not. So if we can help reduce our impacts on them, we can better understand how we can improve what we do to make sure that we keep our ocean environment healthy, which in the end leads to a healthier planet for all of us. The support of the foundation has had a huge impact for my career personally, not only because it helped support me financially, but it also created this second opportunity for me to get to engage with the public and broaden my skill set and really improve my public speaking and my scientific communication. So that's been really awesome to have. Not a lot of students get to have that experience where they get to improve their scientific communication skills while also working on their thesis research and their coursework. So it's been a really great opportunity for me.
My role here at Harbor Branch is that I am a fifth-year IB PhD student hoping to graduate this year. I work with Drs. Amy Wright and Esther Guzman in the Marine Biomedical and Biotechnology Research Program. My dissertation research revolves around marine natural product drug discovery. Specifically, I'm interested in identifying compounds which have anti-cancer potential. So most people are familiar with the fact that many of our drugs come from nature, and the ocean is home to some of the most biodiverse places on the planet, which translates to chemical diversity. So one of these very chemically diverse organisms that we're very interested in comes from the Indian River Lagoon. So that compound is Eutostoma olivaceum. It's a marine tunicate or sea squirt, and it was discovered here at Harbor Branch that this organism produces compounds with anti-cancer properties. So I was able to purify and identify the structure of that compound, and then through the IRL Graduate Research Fellowship, I was able to develop assays to begin the work in determining the mechanism of action, which is the first step in getting that compound to the clinic. I think that the average person should care about this research because there is so much left to discover in the ocean and the lagoon that has unknown potential. It could be anti-cancer potential, antibiotics, anti-malarials, anything. And so we really need to do our part to try to make sure that that is preserved for our work and for the future generations. Of course, the ultimate goal of this research would be to find a new effective cancer therapy. But I think an interesting perspective on this type of research is that it can be used as a platform for ocean conservation and awareness, because communicating to people that there are new life-saving drugs in the ocean and in the Indian River Lagoon specifically might have a larger impact than ecological data alone. This important research wouldn't happen without the Foundation's amazing contributions, and hopefully this research will continue and impact lives of millions of people and help conservation efforts everywhere.